Says we're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Horsepower Empowerment Through Connection. Here today with Nash Mackey. We haven't gotten our other interview up yet, but don't worry, we will. It's going to be amazing up on YouTube, and we have so much that we'll be getting to talk about today. So Nash is coming to us streaming live from Tasmania. Such a cool place, the redheaded stepchild of Australia, here today. All right, Nash, thank you so much for being live on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always amazing to connect, and I'm excited to see what we come up with, whatever it might be today.
Indeed, indeed. So ladies and gentlemen, we're hoping to have a nice interactive group today. We'll see who hops on, and any questions, anything you've been struggling with, feel free to jump in here and we can just be off the cuff. Otherwise, we will dive into some work. We've been talking to different people about how there's been a lot of uncertainty and grief going on in the world today. So Nash is going to talk to you about a framework. Isn't that right, Nash?
That is like, I'll talk from I'm just going to be very real. This is not scripted by any means, as you know.
Yeah, we don't do scripts around here. That's just not how we roll.
I'm just going to speak from the heart, and where I'm speaking from is also just the most common challenge. Common challenges I'm seeing people struggle with at the moment. Like, I'm speaking to people every single day. I was just sharing to Elysia that I've just jumped off a call as well. So I'm just always in touch with what the biggest challenges people are struggling with.
Yeah.
So I'll be speaking from that place as well. So it's very relevant. As you said, Elysia, like, the biggest things, obviously uncertainty and also grief. Like, that's a huge part. I'm curious, do you have an example of the grief side of things on your side?
Oh gosh, I actually do. I have some close friends as well as acquaintances who have recently had family members who have died in the last couple of weeks, or that have people who are currently in that process. And then a lot of people are grieving in different ways just from the loss of their jobs, you know, like, and just general, like, lifestyle, you know, with COVID going on. So many people are just grieving from, like, not getting to see their friends, not getting to see their family members. There's so much uncertainty, like, kids are grieving, like, not getting to see their friends as much. Sports, with people are used to, like, coming together and having those really, like, fun experiences, and the camaraderie of sportsmanship and the energy that goes into that experience, which a lot of people, like, you can't really get that in other places. You can't go into a place and, like, have tens of thousands of people that are cheering and just, like, all that vibrancy and energy that goes into that. It's like, that's addictive, you know. There's a reason people pay like $100-something for a football ticket.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's all fantastic, and I just wanted to hear from your side specifically.
Sure.
Obviously, I have my own interpretation, but that's very, very valuable. So yeah, absolutely. Where you've had a particular lifestyle that you've been so used to, and then all of a sudden something happens and it flips on its head, and that can be, like, so much can come up for people. And the way I see it is that this is, and I'm all about perspectives, like managing your perspective. It's one of the things we can always manage, is just directing our mindset, choosing what to focus on.
Absolutely.
The human brain is just, like, you know, humans are just meaning machines. We're always attaching meanings to things, and the meaning you attach to things will cause you to feel a particular way, which will cause you to then act in a particular way, essentially.
Absolutely.
So it is so crucial to focus on attaching and empowering meaning, no matter what is happening. And this is really what an empowered person is. If you're an empowered person, you have the ability to just, whatever happens, whatever comes up, you can steer it in a meaningful direction by asking yourself, literally, what skills, knowledge, or experiences is giving me that I've never had before.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing that I'm kind of, the metaphor I'm giving people who I'm working with right now, who have had, you know, their old lifestyle completely disrupted, and that might be people that they know, very close to, who have passed, you know, that might be the disruption. It might be, like you said, you know, jobs. It might be just not having a social life that they usually have. What's happening here, like a good metaphor, at least, that we can all take on, a very healthy metaphor, is that life is really giving all of us, to some degree, a boot camp where we get to detach from what we used to and focus on bettering ourselves and directing ourselves very deliberately so we can come out the other side stronger.
Absolutely.
And as we spoke about on the previous interview, I was in the military, and
Yes.
I walked in that place a scared boy. I marched out a soldier, and that was because that was completely detached and removed from what I was used to. And everything I thought I was, everything I kind of believed about so many things was kind of broken down, and they break you down and they push you and they push you and they push you. And they do that to actually allow you to get to see what you're made of.
Yeah.
And that's what life is doing. It's like it's offered us the most beautiful boot camp right now.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, for people who are in the work and do like in momentum already, this may be a little more easy because people are like, I love a challenge. I believe this challenge is going to bring me amazing stuff. And that's my perspective. Like if you know, what you focus on, you move toward. So your perspective, like managing your perspective in this time is key. The meaning you're attaching to things, like, and I'm curious for anyone who's watching this, what is the meaning you're attaching to this situation right now? What are you making this mean? Is in your mind right now, is this the end of the world? Is this a disaster? Is it what is it for you? Like, and I just want everyone to consider that. What's the picture you're making in your head when you think of what's happening in the world right now? Because that picture, the story you're telling yourself, will literally determine how you live your days, how this chapter of your life plays out. I'm hearing so many people. I actually posted this in my stories the other day. I asked people, I said, because I've heard this conversation where people are like, 2020 is just a complete write-off. Like it's just a write-off. I've heard so many people, and I actually asked that in my stories.
Yeah, no, I've heard that as well.
You have? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They just want to forget about that it had ever existed. And, but that just speaks to what level of discomfort people are willing, like what's your threshold, right? And at some point they just shut down because they're like, I'm maxed out. Like I can't do it anymore. And there's no judgment to people when they reach that because everybody's got their own level, like bandwidth, right? And so as life coaches, like what we do is we help give them skills to increase that bandwidth so that they're more like readily able to move through their lives and not only be able to stay within a neutral and like functional space within each and every day, but to be able to transcend those spaces and get to like even figure out how to live their dreams and who is their authentic self and expand themselves comfortably in that level of discomfort. Because you can be comfortable in discomfort, right? Because you can like look for it. Like, yeah, go on.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that. And people might be wondering, you know, I'm just going to give people a tiny bit of context just for me, like why I can even talk about this. Well,
yeah, Nash, who are you? Why would you be the expert?
Who am I? Yeah. Yeah. And
why should we listen to you?
And I'll just say, to find that out, you need to go and watch Elysia's podcast. I keep saying Elysia. I get tongue tied when I say your name. It's a beautiful name.
Thank you. You can call me Ellie if it's easier. It's okay. I'll give you a pass this one time.
What's the shortened version?
Ellie.
Ellie. Okay.
It's like the sweet innocent side.
Okay. I definitely won't call you that then. Okay. Awesome. We're way off track. Okay.
Focus.
So what I'll say is that, and I'll just share a little bit. Okay. So just in this past year, it's actually not even been a year yet. Our third baby was born, and on the day she was born, she was born at about 2 a.m. and it was amazing. I went home to pick up our other two kids to bring them into the hospital. I kind of got a couple of hours sleep, and I was driving into the hospital, and we stopped at the shop to buy my wife some gifts to bring her back to the hospital and for the little kids to meet the new baby. And while I was at the shop, I got a call from my wife, and she's like, "The doctors think there's something up with our baby." And that call, it's a real awakening when you get a call like that.
Imagine.
And sure enough, they discovered she had 4 holes in her heart, and she was almost going into shock because her temperature was dropping so rapidly, and just all these things, like we'd had 2 other healthy babies, amazing, and then we had this little gift that came to us with all these little challenges. And but it was eye-opening. And then from the get-go of what we'd kind of expected and known in the past, we were on this completely different journey. And we were in these meetings with like 6 different doctors and counselors, and we were sitting there, we're like, wow, why do we need these people? And we obviously found out she needed open heart surgery pretty urgently. And she was born with some other challenges as well. And we had to adjust to that. But we had been doing this work for a while. And while it was a challenge, I'd never say it wasn't a challenge. We felt it, but we were able to navigate it. And the thing that we kept reminding ourselves and kept reassuring ourselves was that there's a reason behind this. Like, there is something here that life is giving us that we've never had, and that we've actually asked for. Somewhere along the line, we've actually asked for this. And we had this healthy perspective around this. Even when we had to fly interstate, she had to get air ambulanced interstate because we don't have the hospital in Tasmania. We had to go interstate, and she had to have the open heart surgery in this incredible hospital, the Royal Melbourne Children's Hospital. And we just had to manage our perspective through all that. And we did, and we really did. And we came out the other side of that our life has just gone in leaps and bounds since then, because we didn't let it beat us. We were just like, this is what it is. It is what it is. And we were very mindful of the meaning we attached to it. And we just kept telling ourselves the meaning we did attach to it was just that she's a gift and she is bringing us our next level. Now, obviously, when they're, in the children's hospital, you go down into the little chapel there and you just see these trees, these kind of wooden trees. They've got all the names of the babies who have died in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
You literally see like such a real experience. And so we just had to keep managing, because it's a very real thing. Like when there's heart surgery and you think about it, an infant's heart, it's like that big. It's tiny. And they have 4 holes in that. So yeah, we had to go through all that, and we were able to come out the other side so enriched from that experience. And I just wanted to share that because that's what's available for other people. And we've had plenty of other challenges as well, but that's just one relevant one. Yeah. What I can say to people is that the essence of life is uncertainty. Like you mentioned, that one of the biggest challenges people have right now is uncertainty.
Yeah.
But that's the essence. That's the underlying thing of life. Like, unfortunately, and this is a very vulnerable way to live, people walk around putting all their happiness, all their fulfillment on people and on things and on outcomes.
Yeah, it's true.
They're relying on those things. And so what I think that the opportunity is here is for people to dial it back. And again, it's like the boot camp. You get to wind things back and actually ground to the one thing you can control, and that is how you show up. Yep. How you show up and the meaning you're attaching to things. So I understand that, and I'm never, I never fully, obviously I don't have people who are around me who I love who have passed away from this challenge. Yeah. And so I can never speak for those people. But what I do know is, like, I've definitely had people around me I love who have passed away. And that's the essence of life. And I think that we need to adjust our perspective on people passing away as well. So again, with that little baby of ours, we were very open to the idea that we may never see her come out of that surgery. And she actually had to have 2 surgeries while she was there. Wow. So it's something, one of the cords. And, I worked in operating theatre for 2 years as well. So I'm very aware of what the kind of what can happen. But we had to manage them. We had to be very okay with the fact that we may not see her alive again. And that was a reality. And I'm sharing this because we seem to have gone down this path, and I felt inspired to talk about this, so I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, by all means.
The essence of life is uncertainty, and the fact that I think this has come up. It's bringing fears up. It's bringing stuff that people had inside them all along. It's bringing it to the surface. And that's beautiful, because we get to actually address what we were carrying around all along. Like challenges, challenges don't necessarily make you fearful. They shine light on the fear that you had inside of you. They shine light. Like if you've got a threshold that you've expanded when it comes to doing things that are outside your comfort zone, and you're just good at doing that. What caused other people to experience high levels of stress won't affect you because you've expanded that threshold. So this is the opportunity people have. So Mother Teresa said it so well. She's like, if everyone swept their own doorstep, the world would be a very clean place. And I really feel like the world does need a bit of cleaning. Like we're seeing dysfunction. So the opportunity we have is focusing on ourselves. Focusing on ourselves. And the way we do that, let's talk about that. How do we become certain in ourselves when we know the essence of life is uncertainty, when we know that the people around us will pass away? And if they don't pass away first, maybe we will. Yeah. And so one of the greatest things we can give people is actually show them how to manage that uncertainty if we weren't here. How would they process that?
Yeah.
On that note, I just want to say that my belief around that is energy cannot be created or destroyed. That's just a scientific fact. The essence of all of us is energy. You cannot kill energy. You cannot. That's the human body, the human frame. Eventually, this thing wears out, and it has its time. And it's going to pass. Like that's the essence. But the energy
that animates us.
Yeah, you can never get rid of that. And that's really that's truth. And we know that scientifically cannot create or destroy energy. So
you've talked to me before about how when you were in the ambulance working as a medic, that you were with people, with strangers that were dying, and what your different experience was, that you felt like there were two different types of people.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, so it was the people who, they might have had horrendous injuries on their body, or they were missing limbs in some cases, and their body was kind of falling to bits, but they'd lived a fulfilling life, and they would still just be joyful. They'd still be talking to you about it, and you'd be like, oh my goodness, how do you even have this perspective? Like, look at your body. But they were still lit up inside, and you could hear, they're almost still like a little kid. You almost couldn't shut them up. You'd be there trying to do the paperwork, and they'd just be like, bop, 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 like off they go. And they'd like, oh, I remember this, I remember that. And this thing, their life was so rich and beautiful. Yeah. And then I saw the other people, and sometimes their body was, it looked perfect. And they were in some cases younger, but they'd lost the will to live. They didn't want to be here. They were toxic. They'd had enough. They couldn't wait to get off the planet. And you could sense that energy. And they, when you did have conversations with those sort of people, they would always be like warning you. They'd be like, watch out for this. Like really almost in some cases untrustworthy of other people still, and just bitter toward life. They'd have this general anger toward life. And yeah, as we spoke about, that kind of really played a huge role in helping me move into the work that I now do, is because at the end of the day, we're all going to be, we never know when our last breath is. And like they say, the longest human life is it's a short time. And people kind of use these times of uncertainty to kind of, again, I'm going to say this, these times of uncertainty bring up that stuff that people, like we spoke about. And one of the biggest challenges people have is they haven't managed their actual expectation around, or their story around human life and the human condition. The human condition, which is, yes, we're born, which is beautiful, and yes, we die, which is also beautiful. And that's, you can't have one without the other. You cannot have one without the other. Now, it might sound like insensitive, but I will never say to someone when I find out, maybe their husband or wife or someone has died, I will never say I'm sorry. I will never say that. And I learned that from Dr. John Demartini, who's one of the leading human behavior specialists in the world. And I thought about that perspective a lot. But if you are sorry for them passing, it's not that you don't care. It's just that I'm just grateful that they got to know that person at all. Because no human life, none of us have to be here. None of us have to be here, but for some reason we are. For some reason we are here. Who knows? We won the ultimate, lotto. And I just feel like if people can really connect with that, you don't have to be here. You don't have to be here. Your heart doesn't need to be beating right now. but for some reason it is. And for some reason, other people's hearts has ceased to be. And there's a perfection to that. Like there's a perfection to when people come and go, bigger than what we can understand. But the fact of the matter is, if you are here, your life is important. Your life is meant to be here.
Yeah.
And I do understand that as humans, we also need to make sure that we're always trying to prolong life and preserve life. Like that's crucial. Like I'm never for downplaying the importance of preserving life. Like that is one of my key passions is supporting, help people live the best lives possible, and also supporting people who are vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, that's key, and that's so important. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying when someone does pass through whatever means, we need to acknowledge and accept that for what it is. And now, if it was through a means that was not necessarily like what some people might call bad or inhuman, then we need to absolutely intervene, and we need to do our best to make sure that never happens again. That's the opportunity you have. We get to use our skills and our knowledge to actually create a better future. But for us to say that person died at the wrong time, they should not be dead. And this, I get this is a heavy conversation. We've kind of gone there, but I feel like this is a really key conversation that some people need to process.
Everything comes up for a reason.
It does. It does. Is this making sense? I'm just sort of speaking from the heart here.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, everybody has the right to their experience, and people will resonate with it that do, and those that don't have their own reasons and their own journey around it, because everybody gets to have a different opinion. Like there are very few things in life that are absolute. Everything is guided by something, and to honor each part of that process in a neutral space with, like kindness and honor and respect is what's really key. People have their own autonomy. If it becomes too heavy, they can turn it off, and that's totally okay. Like, and I want people to make sure that they hold those healthy boundaries within themselves to create a space that's non-toxic. It's because they might not be ready for the conversation, and that's totally okay. So yes, absolutely, Nash, you have the platform. We have about 20 minutes left though, before I have to sign off to take care of my family. And I would like to talk a little bit about like the framework and how we can help them with that healthy mindset regarding the subject of which we're addressing.
Of course, absolutely. So
bring it full circle.
Let's bring it full circle. Again, it comes down to your own self-empowerment. And I'm just going to finish off what I was saying before. I'm just going to cap it off this. I've got an amazing wife, like an incredible wife. I'm very blessed.
I love how well you speak of her all the time.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wouldn't know. I don't know anything else simply because she's so amazing. Like, it's just true. Like, yeah.
I love that.
But in saying that, I know that the essence of life is uncertainty. That's true. I also know that maybe I'll pass before her. Maybe she'll pass before me. And even my children, I've completely made peace with any of them passing.
It's a powerful statement.
That might sound really, really freaking weird to some people. But again, I've worked in hospitals. I know how fragile life is. And quite often, so much grief comes from people who have unresolved issues or challenges with someone, or things that they never said to people while they're alive.
I know I do. How's that for vulnerability?
and that's they're like, I never got to say that. I never got to tell that person just how special or how much I love them. Or I never fully appreciated what I had in the moment, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
And you can't get that back. So everything I'm saying here, this is empowered living to me. When I work with my coaching clients, we do this on a high level because I want to set people up to win. And you are vulnerable so long as you're relying on other people for your happiness and fulfillment. Yes. You're actually walking on ice, very thin ice, because they will, either them or you will go. And if you've not educated them through this perspective, like my wife is the same. I'm like, we've had deep conversations about if I ever passed, for how she should process it, how she gets to process it. I don't want to walk around moaning and like, grieving rather, moaning, grieving, and carrying all that, because we're in an amazing life. Celebrate the good times, celebrate the fact that we met at all, and then move on.
That's what wakes are for. Do you guys have wakes over there?
Wait, no. Or actually,
so a wake is like a celebration of life.
Of course. And that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And the interesting thing is there's certain tribes around the world that they celebrate when someone passes. It's the same thing. And they don't grieve, but they actually have a celebration because they believe that person's, moved on to bigger and better things, whatever that is. Right. That's their belief. And so your belief in any given situation will determine how you feel and your experience of it. Okay, so this comes back to having a healthy perspective in any given moment, a really healthy perspective, and actually seeing that, yeah, even though times are a little bit crazy right now, even though things are really challenging, life isn't always like this. We've had big challenges. In fact, you've survived 100% of your hardest days so far. Yeah. It's really important for people to grasp that. You're here, you're a fighter, you're a winner. That's why you're still here. So we bring it back to yourself. And that really brings us back to the center of this. So when I talk about self, like when you're you, there's three things you can always control. There's three things that sort of make you up, any human. And we've got all this going for us at any given time. Like we've always
Nash,
got this.
Can you pull it closer to the screen? Is that possible?
That is possible, but I'll explain it because I wrote this out for another client and I didn't even expect to be talking about this. So that's
okay. We roll with the punches. I think that's close enough. It'll be all right. You're going to talk through it anyways.
Beautiful, yeah. So you've got yourself. Just remember, you are in the middle. You're yourself. And now yourself. That's you. So let's break that down. What are you? First of all, you've got a body. Okay, that's what we know. Yeah, body. You've also got a mind, which gives you the ability to think.
Right.
And
most of the time.
Yeah. And the last part is you've got a consciousness. Now, some people might not resonate with that, or some people might call it a soul or a spirit. That's some people. But I really believe like there's a consciousness. There's something inside of us that's actually allowing us. We don't just have a brain. We've got a consciousness that allows us to kind of reason and make sense of things. Like that can be the mind as well. But we've got something where we can sit down and we can just know, like just this knowing that we exist.
Yeah.
And awareness. And, people can get lost down that field. But let's just leave it. So we've got those three things that are going for us at any given time. How controlled are you of all three of those things? That would be my question to people. How in control are you of your body right now, your health? How in control are you of your mindset right now? And what about your sense of connection? Because that's one of the greatest gifts we have, like being able to just sit down, be still, and actually just ground ourselves in a moment where we don't have to be doing anything, where we're okay with just being still. If someone had once said that to me, I would have been like, what on earth are you saying? But it is one of the key things. If you can do that, you are a very powerful person. If you can just sit down and be still and allow yourself to do that, and you can actually allow yourself to sometimes do nothing and be completely okay with it. The very essence of you being able to do that means that your mind is at peace, that you have a level of peace about you. Now, I know a lot of people who cannot sit still for even a minute. They must be listening to music. They've always got the radio on, the TV on, something distracting them, and they'll make stuff in their life because they cannot stand to sit still. And that's because they have all this noise. They've got all this unprocessed thought that's just running the show. Okay, so I see that as a benchmark, and I see that as a way to actually measure how in control you are. Amidst everything else happening, can you take time to sit down and be completely still? And can your mind, even though it might try and do crazy things, can you just bring it back? Can you bring it back? Because your mind wants to think, but it's what its job is,
Right.
Like, can you bring it back?
Can you bring it back without judgment of it going all over the place?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So these are the three things we get to start with. They are always in our control, even if you are homeless.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is really key to understand. Now outside of yourself right now, you've then got a past, you've got a present, and you've got a future. These are always going for us.
Mm-hmm.
How are you interpreting the past? What are you making the past mean? Because whatever you make the past mean, it will determine how you live in the present.
Exactly. Are you allowing it to own you? Or are you allowing it to be a stepping stone for the things that you get to learn and continue to evolve to be present and prepare for the future?
Absolutely. That's spot on. And then you've got the future, which is this thing in the distance that you're either inspired by, or it may be causing you anxiety, where you're like, I think based on the past, based on how I interpret the past, based on how I believe about myself in the moment, I believe the future will be a certain way. So you've got all of these things, and I encourage people just to check in with yourself. How are these playing out for you? How do you determine your past? Do you have a healthy past, as in no matter what happened? And I understand some people have had real challenges, but are you leveraging that for what it can be? Are you leveraging the past for what it can be? Are you living powerfully in the present? And are you inspired for the future? And the thing is, regardless of what's happened, just like you've created that beautiful artwork behind you, Elysia, we get to create that future. We get to say what we want it to be. And that's what most people don't give themselves permission to do, because they're so scared. They're like, that could never happen for me. Me standing here doing the work I'm doing now, and I'm supporting growing numbers of people around the world through the work I do. I was sharing with a client yesterday. 4 years ago, I was cleaning gutters in service stations at 4 a.m. in the mornings, like picking slime out of gutters, cleaning the windows, changing light bulbs. Like that was the work I did. Like, and that's my story. But I've seen so many people who've gone from lives where they felt completely down and out. They felt like nothing was going their way, but they allow themselves to think forward and say, okay, well, if anything was possible, how would I love my life to be? What would I actually love to do with my life? And they give themselves permission to do that. And then something incredible happens when you do that. And now I always use the metaphor of, if you go to a bank to get a loan, a business loan, if you just went in there and said, hey, I want some money because I'm starting a business. And they'll be like, okay, great. And they're like, tell us about your business. Show us some projections. How much, what do you want to do? What's the service you're offering?
What's your plan?
What's the plan? They'll want to see that stuff. And now based on the plan and based on your ability to communicate, that clearly will determine the funds that get loaned to you, essentially. I really believe that life is quite similar. When you can sit down and, amidst everything that's happening in the world, you can actually just pull out a blank piece of paper and write what you want out of your life. What do you most want out of life? How would you love your life to be? What is that for you? Like the ultimate life. And not just like, oh, get, but what do you want to give? What do you want to contribute? What's the difference you want to make?
I want to help 1 billion people.
That's beautiful. And that's beautiful. That's an incredible thing. And so when you even say that, because some people, like, I speak to a lot of people who couldn't even fathom helping one person. And that's true. Based on that vision that you come up with, and based on the energy you continue to put into it, again, it's like communicating to the bank manager or to the loan manager at the bank. That will determine the resources you then get. Like if you allow yourself to go there in your mind, all of a sudden you create space for new people, new insights, new opportunities to come into your life. And now we know that the human brain is like an amazing deletion machine. It deletes stuff. It just wants to cut stuff out because your brain can only process so much information at any given one time. If we could take in everything like that's possible, there's so much happening right now.
Oh my gosh.
We can't do it. We only have a finite amount of focus.
And what's interesting too, as a massage therapist, I don't know how many times I have people come in to see me and I'll work on them and someplace will hurt and they'll be like, oh, I had no idea that was hurting.
Yeah.
And that's in their own body. That's not anything in the exterior world.
Yeah.
And so that we hit a limit and we just shut our awareness off so that we can continue on at some level of normalcy to get through our day.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we need to allow ourselves to just actually be honest. Like, what do you want to create out of your life? Because we've spoken about life isn't forever.
Mm-hmm.
The essence of life is uncertainty. And the last thing you want to do is be someone who tiptoes to their grave, trying to, safely get to your grave, essentially.
Yeah.
As and I know I use these kind of death metaphors a lot, but it's, I'm actually inspired by the fact that one day, I'm inspired by the fact that we don't have forever. I think that that's one of the greatest gifts we've been given.
So you can live more fully in the present.
Absolutely.
Purpose.
Because imagine some people who right now spend their time as it is sitting on the couch. Imagine if they had forever. Imagine what their lives would be like. They would just, but the fact that we don't have forever, and the fact that there is a time is ticking, that's a gift. It's like something new that humans are pretty good at just taking it pretty easy and just chilling out. But when you know that that's like, if we all knew that we only had a year to live, we'd be living in a very, very different way. Most of us.
True. It's true. Speaking of which, what's the next part of the circle? So we have past and present and future, and then.
So this one comes onto the 6 human needs. So this is the human needs we all have as humans. So I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. So the first one is certainty. We all need certainty in our life. Okay? That's the first human need. The second human need is variety. We all need variety. We all need significance. We all need connection and love. We all need to be growing, and we all need to be contributing something. Now, the more deliberately we can be meeting these needs, the more fulfilled we'll be. And if we can be meeting them, we always meet them. No, the first four needs we always meet on some level. We always find a way to meet those needs. The two top needs, also known as the spiritual needs, growth and contribution, are the ones that we get to meet. And when you meet those ones, it's like you meet the other ones very, very easily. So people might say, well, how can I meet my need for certainty in this time? We've just spoken about your need, your belief in yourself, cultivating a belief in yourself that you are someone who can succeed no matter what.
Yeah.
That you get certainty in that. That
maybe I definitely do.
Yeah, amazing. So you want to ask yourself, and we obviously have minimal time today, but so the 6 human needs are very, very powerful framework. That comes from Tony Robbins. I've done a lot of training with Tony Robbins, so that's a very, very powerful resource. And then it comes down to your actual values. The next one is your values. So the needs that you have, the needs that you're trying to meet, like be it significance. If you've got a high level, if you're trying to always live and get significance from people, it might determine what values you have. You might be someone who's very always putting themselves out there, always feels like they need to be seen. And that will drive you to do particular things. And those things are also known as your values. Like, I'm not talking about values like aspirations where you're like, this is who I want to be. I'm talking about values, what you actually do, what your life demonstrates. So your needs will then drive your values, okay? And after your values comes the areas of life. So we know as humans, we've all got multiple areas of life. We've got a mind, we've got a body, we've got a career, we've got family, we've got finances, we've got social life, we've got environments. What was that? Pets, exactly, yeah. You might, maybe they fall under family, depending on
a garden. Things that you caretake.
Exactly. But they fall under the needs, which I have written over here. We've got all of these things. Now, we've got all of this going for us at any one time. Every single human on the planet right now has these things happening for them. And then the last part of it, after the areas of life, is the impact you're having right now. Every single one of us right now is having a particular kind of impact. Absolutely.
Yes, from small to large. I think it's really important for people to remember that.
Yes, exactly. Like it never does not happen. Even down to how long you have a shower for determines how much water you're using. Like, it's crazy. like it goes on and on and on. Like how careful you are about recycling things, it's having an impact. It's literally, you're either taking or adding to the world. And there's always and that's a deeper idea, but we always need to take something, or something always needs to be taken for something else to be created. But are you actually leaving a beneficial imprint on the earth through how you're living?
Absolutely, it's an exchange.
Yeah, so these things are always happening, and I've gone through that extremely quickly, but I just wanted to share that with people to let them know, and just to hopefully get them to think about, where are they? How are these circles playing out for you? Because what we get to do is once we look at the impact we're currently having and how we're meeting these needs currently, we get to actually shrink it back and come back to ourselves and say, okay, right now I'm having this sort of an impact. Right now in my family and my fitness, my health, my career, my social life, I have this particular situation. And then I get people to rate themselves in all of those areas. So if they want the areas, people want to write them down. So you've got your mind, you've got your body, you've got your spirit, you've got your career. I always say intimate relationships, if people have those, I think it's important to isolate those and work on those. Your family, your social life, your finances, your time, and your energy. I think I've got them all there. So if people want to write those down, and then what I'd love for people to do is actually rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. Rate yourselves. Where do you fall in all of those areas? So your mental development right now, how would you rate yourself? How would you rate your level of health right now?
10 being the best.
10 being the best. 10 being the best. And what I actually always say to people is, don't eliminate 7. 7's not an option for you, because 7's a comfortable number. You're either above or below 7. Okay. So get people to rate themselves. And then what we go and talk about, so say for example, you're a level, I did it with a gentleman yesterday. He was about a level 8 in his mind, in his body. He was about a level 6, and so on and so forth. Once you've done that, you come and you look at it, you're like, okay, well, what would I need to do to get my mind to a level 10? What would that even look like?
What habits would you have to put in play?
Habits would I need to have in place? What would I need to believe about myself? Because currently I don't believe that, otherwise I'd be at a level 10. And you go through all areas of your life. So this is what I call holistic living, because you're not just focusing on one-dimensional success. Like in all of these things, we're talking about certainty, and I've given you this big framework that people can play with, simply because this will give you certainty, because there's so much you can't control, but you can control all of this to some degree. And maybe there's things that aren't the way they have been in the past, but we can't help that. And worrying about how they were, or frustrating that they're not like they used to be, gets you nowhere. Gets you absolutely nowhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
We just need to be saying, okay, what can we focus on with our mind right now? How do we get our mindset to a level 10?
Yeah, and also the part that I just recently, we were having in the conversation beforehand, that I think it's pertinent to bring up too, is that in your behaviors, your interactions with other people, are you doing things to try and fill your needs and looking for other people to assign value to you so that you can find value? Or are you assigning value to yourself and allowing people to think whatever they need to think, but not allowing what their thoughts are to impact you, because you're living out of your authentic self?
Yes.
And it makes a real difference. And sometimes we don't even necessarily realize it. And then a lot of our dysfunctional habits come from us trying to meet those needs because we're struggling to find that value within ourselves. And everybody just wants to be valued.
Everyone does. That's so true. But again, it's becoming self-reliant.
Exactly. It's so important to be self-reliant, and then looking for the help that we need in different places, like people getting to talk to you with this model that you have, or reach out to me with the life coaching that I do, or any other person that indicates to them as a life coach, with or without the horses. There's so many amazing people out there. Yeah. And you've brought such depth today, Nash. Thank you so much. Really,
I'm not too sure how this landed for people, but I just kind of went there a little bit, and that's just a snap of what I delve into with people. again, we've spoken from the heart.
We have. That's what we always do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So hopefully this lands for people. Hopefully it's valuable. But again, focusing on what you can control, embracing and owning that the essence of life is uncertainty. And remember that you are always making things mean something. And you are always in control of that. You know, that is up to us.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm going to leave it with that.
That's wonderful.
Unless you've got any other questions.
Nash, I do have one more question for you, or maybe two.
Yeah.
Can you take a picture of your board and post it on our feed for this video so people can reference it later?
For sure.
Mara Palermo says, thank you, Nash, Mackey, always bringing value. Thanks, Mara. It's nice to see you on here.
Yeah,
He's taking a picture right now. And also, Nash, can you just throw up anything you're promoting and your contact information on the feed when you get a chance, my friend?
Absolutely. I'm only seeing the Zoom.
I put it up on your page.
Okay, beautiful.
Sharing on your page so that people can get value on your side too.
Oh, thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I always love to run over because that's my habit, especially when I get to connect with amazing people. But I get to go take my mom to PT because taking care of family is incredibly important as one of my values and core needs. So, all right, much love to everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And Nash, thank you so much, as always, for spending time with us and sharing your wisdom and like speaking from the heart, as always. You're just an incredible human being, and I appreciate you.
Oh, my great pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, and I look forward to connecting whenever we get to in the future.
Yes, monthly meetings.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone for jumping on.
All right, thanks. Bye, guys.